For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Philippine News Canada is brought to you by Rayford Media Group.
Hello mga kabayan! Narito na ang pinalawak at pinalakas na coverage ng Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver Nationwide, mga pangunahing balitang nakalap ng aming news team para sa linggong ito. Mula dito sa Surrey, nagbabalita, ako po si Rosette Correa at ito ang Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver.
Hello mga kabayan, magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Kasama natin ngayong hapong ito si Christy Taide, and she is from BC Happy Homes Immigration Services here in Canada. And the counterpart based in Iloilo is the Nati Sotana Canada Immigration Consultancy. Hi Christy, thank you so much.
Hi Rosette, thanks so much for having me.
Again, thank you so much for such a short notice, but we would like to, of course, always, all the time, syempre gusto natin na our kababayans have the latest updates on anything, and then this time, it's anything immigration related. Ayan, kasi there, of course, marami tayong mga kababayan who are coming in from the Philippines. And marami rin silang mga questions. So today, we're going to talk about the latest document coming in from the Philippine Consulate. And it's one of those things na hindi natin alam by definition. So maybe you can shed some light on us. It's called the third party, correct me if I'm wrong, ha? Hindi ako familiar. But it's the third party hiring.
Yes, I believe it's third country hiring.
Third country hiring. Yes. Okay. All right. So I think you know more than we do. So can you give us a definition of that and what it is?
Right. So I think right now they're bringing attention to the unfortunate circumstance in which there might be Filipino nationals that are, for example, working abroad in another country, who are approached by some other people, maybe part of a recruitment agency or whatever that might be, for example, and being lured to other countries under false pretenses. So, for example, that they're going to be working for one employer with a very specific job. And then once they arrive in that country, only finding out then that the working conditions are not meeting the expectations. And even in worst case scenarios, maybe there's not even any employment that's available at all. So really that they are being lured to another country under somehow, a scam or, coming under false expectations for that employment.
And of course, the Philippine Consulate is trying to protect our kababayans who may be lured into scams like these. One of the things that the document tells us is that we really have to look into the legitimacy of the agency. So in your experience as an immigration consultant, how will we know if a hiring company or a hiring agency is truly legitimate?
Right. So actually, if you are, working with a representative, for example, like myself, I am a regulated Canada immigration consultant. So under our position, we should not be charging the workers directly. We should not be asking them for any particular fees for our services. in most cases, it should be under the employer's responsibility to cover all of those fees involved with the processing of the application, including for our services, including for, especially with the low wage workers, a lot of the other responsibilities that they will be carrying once they get here as an employer, including a portion of their housing and transportation and whatnot, right? So anytime you see that there are fees involved, especially when it comes to job placement, you do have to be a little bit wary of that if it is indeed legal or illegal, because in most cases that should not even be happening, right? Another thing to look out for, if it sounds too good to be true, it might be too good to be true, right? And in other words,
great rule of thumb yan, ano?
Exactly, yes. And also, like if there are promises that you can bypass certain procedures, getting there faster, and maybe that you are guaranteed approvals, or they have special connections, that type of thing, you have to be a little bit as well cautious about those kind of keywords, right? That's what I always like to refer to, anything that has to deal with guarantees, having to be guaranteed that you are going to have, approvals and whatnot. It always comes down to, the final decision of a visa officer when it comes to immigration papers, for example. And so you do have to be a little bit wary of those as well.
So in order for us to see yung legitimacy of certain agencies, meron ba tayong, is there a way that our kababayans can check a list of agencies, consultancies that are truly legitimate and are recognized by both the Canadian government and the Philippine government?
Right. So in our position as immigration consultants, we should be under the College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants. So just by going to their website, you can actually search for a list of those that are recognized and regulated. And once you find that out, that means that they are allowed to represent you, and as well that you are. Well, it's not going to be the worker paying directly for the fees, but if you are getting advice from a representative, it should be somebody that is that is listed underneath there as well. So that's very important. If they're not regulated, they should not be charging fees for that, for immigration services, for example. As well, lawyers can, as well, as long as they are part of a law society of Canada, they can represent as well. But aside from that, if there are fees involved for representation in an immigration application, you do have to check that that person is indeed recognized.
You mentioned earlier when we were chatting, before this interview, that there are certainly a lot of scams going on. And can you tell us some stories or some instances where a lot of our kababayans have fallen into those scams?
Right. There are some unfortunate circumstances where people may actually come and they come and ask for advice after having gone to Canada with the expectation that they will be working in one specific position for an employer, for example, and then later on finding out that their job duties, the job description is totally different. That's something where it should be it should have been applied for very specifically what type of position they are going to be carrying out once they get into Canada. And so that's one thing, that there are a lot of people that are being kind of manipulated with what the actual job is when they get here to Canada as well. And then also, going back to this the third country hiring scheme as well, where there are some unfortunate circumstances where some other Filipinos, for example, come into Canada and then only find out later on that there's not even any employment that is available to them that had been promised by a recruiter, for example, overseas, right? And so with with this particular third country scheme, one of the challenges with that is that it usually targets Filipinos that are already working abroad in another country,
So let's
and
say, for
they
example, those who are working in the Middle East or in parts of
exactly.
South Asia. Mhm.
Exactly, yes. And so if they are not currently in the Philippines right now and they are approached with a job offer to go to another country to work, there's a possibility that they could, bypass, going through the process that should be done when they are actually leaving the Philippines to seek employment. Right. So, for example, having to go through the POEA, right? And
Mhm.
so that is where it gets very challenging, because if they don't go through that process, they're not identifying themselves to POEA as having been deployed to another country. And so when things like this come up, when there are problems that come up, it's going to be very hard to assist them, because there is, they have not been properly documented from leaving the country. So they're kind of going indirectly into another country, and then with that false pretenses that they'll be doing something, and then end up with a very different scenario.
So best practice really is, if ever they are offered a job at the country that they're in right now, which is outside of the Philippines, best practice is to contact the POEA where they're at.
Right, right. And making sure as well that, if there's any procedures that need to be done from their end, that they're being compliant with it as well. And then at the same time, they can help monitor as to whether or not there is really genuineness with that job offer as well.
That's fantastic. That's really great advice, especially for a lot of our kababayans who really are not aware that some of these are, grand scams, and a lot of them cost a lot of money. And in the end, there's really nothing waiting for them, hindi ba?
Yes, yes, it's very sad, because even if they successfully get to that destination country, but they are like left stranded, and and there's nowhere to kind of seek for help, it gets very difficult for them, right?
Mhm.
And it tarnishes as well those employers that do have that genuine employment, and workers that genuinely want to, to better their lives by going abroad. So it really just it kind of tarnishes the whole system when once these kind of schemes start happening. So it's a very sad instance to hear that is going on right now.
Well, thank you so much for all this advice, Christy. So in summary, what are the top 3 things that you think we should look out for when we do have these third-party hiring systems?
Right. I think the first thing is that you just have to kind of do your research first, right? Things might sound very nice and promising when they're presented to you, but at the same time, you have to kind of scrutinize it as well. Make sure you do a little bit of research as to whether or not that offer could be genuine, and then look if there's any kind of cues there that indicate to you that it might not be genuine. So for example, if there are payments that are involved that you have to make, especially if they are, in ridiculous amounts, right? It usually will be one of the first indicators that, it might not be a legal process, right? And then, at the same time, don't be afraid to as well, seek advice from others as well, and when you seek advice also from somebody that is trustworthy and in a position in which you can really rely on, that they have the best resources available, like POEA or consulate, that type of thing as well. And then the other thing, if you are working with a representative, sorry, make sure that they are regulated, and that they are legally allowed to offer, your help as well.
Thank you so much, Christy.
Yes,
In such a short explanation, marami tayong natutunan ngayong araw na ito regarding those job offers that we are getting from supposedly employers, and how to make sure that we are dealing with the right people. So thank you so much, Christy, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you more next time about other immigration matters.
Thank you so much, Rosette.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Decorative pottery nagbibigay saya sa panahon ng COVID. Maraming nagiging creative sa panahon ng pandemya at marami sa ating mga kababayan ay nakakaisip ng mga maliliit na negosyong makakatulong sa kanilang mga income. Sa ating kabayang kabuhayan, i-feature natin ang ilang mga creative decorative potters na nagbibigay saya sa ganda at mga ordinaryong pasong ginagamit sa panghalamanan.
Ang paghahalaman, pag sinamahan mo ng diskarte, tulad na lang ng 3 babae sa pamilyang ito, si lola, si nanay at ang anak, nagtulong-tulong upang mapalago ang kanilang halamanan. Okay? Si nanay sa pagtatanim, ang anak sa marketing at ang apo sa pagdodrawing. Ganyan po ang ginawa nitong diskarte upang mapansin ang kanilang mga ibinebentang halaman. Anhay, ang gaganda po ng mga halaman nyo. Kailan po kayo nag-start magtanim?
Naku, bata pa ako. Alam mo, ang pagtatanim ko, ewan ko kung hilig yun o gusto ko lang maganda sa paningin ko. Ano na to eh, third house na ng aming natirahan. Lahat yung pinanggalingan ko, napapalingon na ang mga nagdadaan. Hindi, pinagaganda ko yung harapan ko eh.
Asa talagang hilig niyo po?
Pero ang
Hilig niyo
tanim ko, hindi mga mamahalin, mga pumurahin lang.
Pero magaganda naman, ma'am. Magaganda naman po eh.
O nasa nag-aayos yun, nasa nag-aalaga yun. Ang alaga is dilig, pansin, trimming, yun, ginagawa ko. Pangatlong buhat na namin to ng aming bahay. Ganun pa rin ang nararamdaman ko. Nasisiyahan yung mga nakakakita ng mga tanim ko.
Ibig sabihin, ma'am,
Sa harapan
iyan
ng
ang binili
bahay.
niyo rin po yan.
Ulit.
Bumili rin po kayo ng mga halaman.
Hindi, pinalalago ko lang. Minsan na bili ako, pero hindi lagi. Minsan-minsan lang. At saka yung hingi-hingi, yung bigay-bigay. Ang natutuwa ako, pag binigyan ako, o kaya hiningi ko, o kaya binili ko, napapadami ko. Alam mo, kaya ako naglagay ng plants for sale sa harapan. Walang naman lugaran. Maliit lang kasi yung lugar namin. Wala na akong malugaran ng aking, pinaproblema ko na kung saan ko yung lugar. Kaya naglagay ako, sabi ko, Ria, pagmagawa ako ng tarpaulin, plants for sale. Para mabawasan, magkaroon lang ako ng space. Ayun, nawili na.
Marami naman pong nabili.
Oo. Marami nga natutuwa. Ang naano ko, may katulong na akong magbili ng halaman ko. Sana,
Sino po ang nakakatulong niyo po?
makakilala, mga kaibigan. Nakikita ka nila kasi yung harapan. Sabi nila,
Maganda.
testingin nila kung ano yung siguro yung mga mahihilig din sa halaman. Natutuwa naman ako, sabi ko. Meron na akong katulong mag-alaga ng halaman ko. Sana maalagaan nila tulad ng pag-alaga ko. Kasi hindi naman pwede yung halaman. Hayaan mo na lang yan. Parang libangan mo. Parang mo na rin siya, parang pet lang na Hindi. Kailangan nila ang atensyon mo. ang pag-aalaga mo, yung concern mo sa kanila na mabuhay sila araw-araw. Parang tulad ng tao, kumakain araw-araw. Sila, ano lang, tubig lang yung pagkain nila. Kaya, bibigyan mo rin ng pansin. Sabi ko, hindi pwedeng yung halaman, halaman na lang. Tiyaan mo na rin siya. Sumibol. Hindi pwede yun. Kailangan din attention mo. Kailangan din yung aruga mo. Kasi, bibigyan ka nila ng kasiyahan. Tulad to. Akalain ko ba na dadating ako sa panahon na mapipera ko pa. Hindi ka naman pinagagastusan. Ang ginagastos ko lang talaga dyan, baso, lupa, at tubig. Dahil kasama na rin yun, pagbibili, diba? Pero yung halaman mismo, minsan nga, yung mga tanim ko sabi ni Rian, ma, sinama sa Facebook yan, ang mahal-mahal pala yan. Binimimigay mo lang pag marami nang nabili kasi mahigit 200, halimbawa. Binabono sa mono ng yung mga madali lang tumubo. Bonus na sa kanila. Hindi ko na sinisingil.
Hindi kayo nainip during pandemic dahil meron kayong pinagkakaabalahan?
Ay, hindi. At saka, ewan ko.
At saka nakita niyo yung talent ng anak niyo at saka ng inyong apo. Si Ria sa marketing, tapos si Kate sa drawing.
Naglalaro-laro lang kami noon na practice lang at wala nang magawa Ba?
Nag-click.
Nag-click naman.
Bali ginagawa mo yan dahil break
Opo, wala lang pong magawa ngayong break.
ngayong pandemic.
Pero sa next week po, September 7, start na po ulit ako ng online class. Kaya baka hindi na po ako makagawa.
Nakakailan drawing ka sa loob ng isang araw?
Kapag yung madadali po, minsan 5 to 7 po. Pero pag yung mahirap po, minsan 2 lang po natatapos ko sa isang araw.
May sweldo ko naman dyan.
Meron naman po.
Magkano?
Ay, secret.
Pero mahilig ka rin maghalaman.
Halaman po hindi.
Hindi ka marunong?
Hindi po.
So, ang nagtatanim talaga
Si mama po, tsaka si Lola.
Hindi mo nakuha sa kanila yung
Hindi po. hindi po ako maalagain sa halaman.
Saan mo nakuha yung talent sa pagbibiro?
Siguro po kay Papa. Pero parehas mo po sila magaling ni Mama. Siguro minana lang po. Pati po yun, mga kapatid ko din po magaling po dyan. Siguro.
Yeah po, saan galing yan?
Ito, sa naman to? Sa Laguna pa to. Ito mga nakaanon to, yung mga nakahang na yan, galing sa silang yan. Diyan ko binili, yung mga hanging trees nila. Yan, hanging plant. Yan.
Bakit ito naisipang pagtanim?
Parang gusto ko, pag matanda na yata, gano'n na talaga. parang nararanasan ko na yung mga ng mga iba. Pag umabot ka ng mga 50 years old, tapos pangalawa, dahil nga doon sa pandemic, di ba? Wala ka namang wala ka namang magawa. So, instead of tumigil ka lang sa bahay,
so, nabili kayo kung saan lugar?
ay, oo.
Magkano nagagastos nyo?
Yung pinakahuli. Pero nung una, pa 1,000. Pero nung huli, iba na kasi madami na ako binili. Umabot na ng 6,000. Nung una, yung mga binibili ko, pang pang gamit lang, para dito lang sa bahay. Pero dumating yung time, nasabi ko, nung pinapost ko siya sa Facebook, maraming nagsasabi, magkano yan, tanong ng tanong, magkano yan, ganyan, magkano kuha mo, magkano yan, binibenta niyo po ba yan? So, kailan lang, naisip ko, sabi ko, ang dami naman nagtatanong, sabi ko, mura rin naman ang kuha ko, kaya sabi ko, magbenta kaya ako.
paghahalaman ay hindi biro. Ito ay kailangan samahan ng tiyaga, pagmamahal at palasakit sa mga halamang inalagaan. Dahil sa mga pagkakataong hindi inaasahan o mga pangyayaring minsan ay hindi natin iniisip tulad ng pandemya, ang mga halamang yung inalagaan ang magsasalba sa naghihingalong bulsa. Ako po si Ronaldo Matambayan, nag-uulat para sa Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver.
Nagpapasalamat po kami sa aming sponsor ang 88 Supermarket na may 2 branches sa Killarney Market at sa Victoria Drive. Maraming salamat po. At dito na naman nagtatapos ang balita namin para sa linggong ito. Kung kayo may mga komento, mga issue o balitang nais niyong ibahagi sa aming programa, ang PNC ay bukas para sa inyong lahat. Mag-email lamang po sa balitangvancouver@gmail.com o tumawag sa 604-588-6397. Nagbabalita mula sa Surrey, ako po si Rosette Correa. At ito, ang Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver.
For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.